as long as I can remember speaking. I was raised in a very religious family, and we went door to door from the time I was in a stroller, and I was talking to strangers door to door from the time I could speak. So basically, my whole life, because I learned early on that not to take things personal, and that if people don't want something, it's they don't want what you have, and if they don't know you, it's not that they don't want you. And so I think that really served me. Uh, in life to be able to get up and continue to serve people regardless of if they were interested in what I was serving or not. So I started working when I was 14. I worked for an estate planning attorney and I thought that I wanted to be an attorney. I didn't know what I wanted to do actually when I graduated high school, so I didn't go to college and I had the good fortune of getting hit by a minivan going 60 miles an hour when I was at a dead stop on the freeway. And so that prevented me from being able to go back and sit in any kind of office. And part of the rehab to get back to work part-time was going to massage school. So I went and got my massage license just as a way to get 2 to 3 hours of body work a day and an intensive course to get me ready to go back to work. And that ended up just life had a way of opening doors. And in a local business, they needed help. And so in the evenings, I started helping them. And within 2 months, I was making more money there than I was at the law firm. So I quit. And that was my first business as an entrepreneur. So I spent 10 years as a clinical esthetician and massage therapist, all by referral. I had over 1,000 clients by the time I left that career and went into real estate, which was, I got licensed in real estate in 2004 and started my real estate career in 2005. Number one, I was in business for myself, so I cared about every single relationship and every single client, and I only wanted to work with great people. So I never did any marketing or advertising. It was all based on relationship. It was 100% referral. I never ran an ad or a promotion or did anything like that. And that's, a close space to be in with someone. And I didn't want just anyone in the general public. So that business of 1,000 clients happened organically by referral over the course of 10 years. And I was the brand. So I knew that it was about me delivering an experience that people were going to want to return to again and again, and then have a great enough experience that they would want to tell someone else. And I think that that is a really important principle in business, is that we are experience creators. And when people have experiences that they enjoy, they want to have more of them. And when they have experiences that they don't ever want to have that experience again. And so, principle in business for me is it takes time to build credibility in a relationship. You're not going to get around the time or the work to do that. And it takes one not great decision to blow years of good reputation and credibility. And so it's really important how we handle ourselves in life and business and those relationships, because it's either going to open doors to something that will expand or very quickly close them. Yeah, it's so funny. My late husband, Rick, he was in the industry for 43 years and at one point had 9 Keller Williams franchises. And so he would always have people ask him, about attraction and recruiting and like, how do we attract or recruit against XYZ brand? And he's like, I'll go back to what he would say. He's like, you totally have missed the point. He's like, I don't recruit people to Keller Williams. I'm not recruiting them to the company any more so than we're recruiting people to EXP. It's that you have a personal brand. I have a personal brand. Business travels at the speed of trust. And so when someone trusts you and they want to do business with you because there's a reason for them to do that and value to do that, like we're not building a company's brand. And if you are, in my opinion, that's not going to be the most effective way to really grow and build something. People follow people. People don't follow companies. So I went through a divorce in 2004. I happened to be very close friends with my ex-husband's ex-wife from day one. She was married to him first and they divorced. However, they had a child together. And so she's the one that encouraged me to get into real estate. She said, because she saw my lifestyle. So I was working 6 days a week, 8 to 10 clients a day. I never hired anyone because I was the brand. So I had zero leverage. I made really good money, had very low quality of life. Sundays were like, do grocery shopping for the week, do laundry, reset, and hit it again Monday morning. And so she said to me, she said, people trust you. You've established credibility. You've lived in this area your entire life. You have a book of business of over 1,000 clients. Why don't you just market them a different service? And so as I started putting the pieces together of that I could work with multiple clients at a time and the commission and the amount of commission and I'm in California, so San Francisco, East Bay in the Bay Area. I thought, you know what? Why not? why not? And she's like, it'll be fun. We can work together and you'll be able to get a better lifestyle. So for me, I was in search of lifestyle. And lifestyle to me is the ability to have time and money because I had money and no time, and that was not a great lifestyle. And then when you have time and no money, that's not a great lifestyle either. And so I was looking for the best of both worlds and figured real estate would be my next thing to do. Plus, I was also ready for a new challenge and to get outside. You know, I spent 8 to 10 hours a day in a quiet treatment room, generally listening to a lot of things that people would, just want to share. And so I think I was ready for a change at that point. Change. It was a change of life because I was about to hit 30 and going through a divorce and like, well, let's change careers too. So I say the best thing I got out of my real estate career was my husband, because that's where I met Rick. And we were both at Keller Williams at the time. And so we met in 2005. We didn't get together until 2008. And so I was very much part of the 2006, 7, 8 market. And I completely lost my passion for real estate. I got to the point where I didn't care how much I was going to make in a commission. No one was happy. And, in the market at that time, it didn't matter how much a seller got for a house. They felt like it was worth more 60 days previously, and it was. And it didn't matter how good of a deal a buyer got. They felt like they were getting ripped off and that they overpaid because in 60 days from now, it was going to be worth less. And it was. And it was just this toxic environment that I grew to hate. And so during that time, I was like, you know what? I want to be fulfilled in what I do. I want to feel like I'm helping people. And at the end of 2007, I actually got a call from my ex-husband about a business that happened to be in direct sales network marketing. And because of where things were at financially, for me during that time, I was in the process of losing everything. I had 90 grand in credit card debt. I owed another 60,000 to my mom and dad, average of 10 grand a month overhead just to like check the boxes at that time. When I got introduced to this concept of being able to do business and have a business that ran 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and wasn't limited to one time zone or one area, it changed the way that I thought. And I'm like, I'm selling real estate in my local area based on how much personal capacity I have. I'm having an experience that, like, it was a toxic environment at that time. No one was having fun. I'm not enjoying it. I'm like, I don't care if I get a $50,000 commission, I'm miserable. And so I kept selling real estate up until January of 2009, actually. And I started building that business in my part-time. And replaced enough of my real estate income that I got out of the transactional side of real estate in 2009. Rick stayed in, of course, because he owned 9 Keller Williams offices. He was a master faculty, speaker, trainer, and coach for Keller Williams, and the top 3 requested of the entire company at that point in time. And he still was selling real estate and had a sales team. So he stayed in on the real estate side of things, and I went and grew and developed that business into 17 markets around the world. I helped open markets in areas where I didn't speak the language and helped to build, global distribution channels, coach people. I did a lot of personal development, traveled a lot in that business. And so I was in my lane. And in 2016, the end of 2016, I was down in South America working in Peru because we were pre-market working to open that market. And Rick called me and he said he was all excited because Brent Gove had called him about, this new company that it was in real estate. And it wasn't actually new. It was just new to him. And he was very excited about it and he wanted me to look at it. I was max capacity at that point. I was 7 days a week, 14 hours a day, a pre-market window before technology goes into an open market. We had been 4 weeks of just hitting it hard. And so I said, will you please wait till I get home. I don't have capacity to look at anything. And so when I did the due diligence on EXP, Brent Gove came to our house on a Friday night to watch the model explained because I had attempted to recruit him into my business and driven an hour and a half to meet him 2 years before. I'm like, if Brent Gove wants to recruit us, he can drive to our house and have a conversation. I'm not getting on a webinar with him. And so he drove to our house at 9 o'clock on a Friday night. We went through the model explained, and I knew what I was looking at from a business perspective because the compensation model mirrored that, and I understood the business. And so I had, 5 key questions. I was like, what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? And he's like, I don't know. What about all this? And I'm like, yeah, all that's not going to matter if you don't have these things. It's not going to be long-term sustainable. And it would be silly for us to risk our credibility on something that's not going to be around. So if you can get these 5 questions answered for me, then we'll know more. And so he said, well, our CEO, who was Jason Guessing at the time, is going to be in Roseville next week. Come have lunch. And so we went to that lunch. I asked Jason my questions. He had really solid answers for those questions. And at the end of that lunch, I said to Rick, I said, I think this could be significant. Everything checks out. And, I'm the kind of person, if there's a hole in it, I'll poke it. And if I can find it and poke it, someone else can too. And I'm just not even going to spend the time to go down that path. Life and business is too important and too short. And so I said to Rick, you have my blessing. I'm going to stay over here in my lane, working in my business. I will support you in any way that you want to be supported as you start your journey with EXP. And, we were off to the races. And so we joined, I wasn't selling real estate, but we put my license with commercial, his with residential. We joined in January of 2017, and we were at the Puerto Vallarta trip, which only had like 50 people at it at that time. And I remember Gene Frederick, everyone was in like one hotel room at that point. Gene Frederick is standing on the coffee table because it was shoulder to shoulder, like everyone was in there like sardines. The energy was off the charts. I don't like hype. And Gene Frederick's like, it's never going to be this small again. There's 2,400 agents at that time. And so I tapped Rick on the shoulder and I'm like, I'm out. Like, this is not an environment I want to be in. I'm going to go back to the room and work on my business. But what I did do when I left the room was I went and I called my financial planner and I bought, I said, take $15,000 and purchase EXP stock, because I knew that something was going to happen. I could tell, and I could see the business model was going to work. And I could tell that there was people with influence that were really excited that we're going to go create something and make something happen. So that was January of 2017. January of 2021, subsequently, I sold that stock for $224,000. But yeah, that was kind of like the beginning stages. So I didn't come to work with Rick at EXP until 2020, when we logged in the back office and I saw $20,000 to $40,000 a month in revenue share was going back to the company, because he had never logged into the back office and studied the compensation structure or what what was happening in the organization. So by 2020, that got my attention, and I went from the lane that I was in with my business, which was a mature business, and I had leaders in place, and pivoted 100% to be working with him at EXP in 2020. Honestly, it depends on what's happening in that conversation with that person. However, one of the questions I like to ask to get people thinking is, if you keep doing exactly the same thing that you've done the last 3 to 5 years, in 3 to 5 years from now, are you going to be where you want to be? And if the answer is no, then the next question is, are you open to having a different conversation and possibly doing something different to get you where you want to be in the next 3 to 5 years? I don't think it's an objection that people say. I think that the toughest thing for people is getting what they say is important to them versus what's actually important to them. So what I mean by that is, I have a girlfriend that's been in the industry 20 years. She's a top producing agent. We've been in the conversation with her for 6 years about EXP. She's still not here. I'm back in the conversation with her again. And she's like, I really want to run my business more like a business. And so we went through the numbers, and it's like, if you did the same book of business you did last year here, you would immediately have $86,000 more in your pocket. And she hasn't moved over yet, because that's not actually the thing that's driving her. The thing that's driving her is, at this point in her career, the desire to be seen and recognized and elevated in front of her peers. And so what people say, and it's not in the form of objection, it's really, I think, being present to people. And sometimes there's more in what they're not saying than there is in what they are saying. And so it comes down to discernment, because I know if I'm not ready to do something, I'll throw a bunch of things out there, and those may not be the actual things. Those may just be things to keep someone at arm's length or give them hoops to jump through. And I find that that's true with people. So it's always the essence of like, what's actually going on for this person? What are they not saying? What are the real hot buttons? And how do I get to those and then move those? So when I pivoted the conversation to, oh my gosh, you should come to EXPCon. We do this exclusive event within our organization. It's going to be this dinner yacht party, and like the best of the best from all over the US and some internationally are going to be there. And these are people you would want in your network that you're going to want to know, and you would want them to know you. Now she's all over it. right? Where initially it was like, oh, we need to look at the numbers and from a business perspective. So I don't know that there's, I, objections to me are interest because if someone is not interested, they just say no. There is no objection. So when someone has an objection to me, that's like, oh, they're interested. So let's just dig deeper in this conversation. To me, if someone is having objections, we're still in the game. We're
Yeah.
in a conversation, right? And it's like, it's where's it going to go next? And I don't like to, some people like to handle objections. I don't like to handle them at all. I just say, great, I hear your objections are XYZ. Let's imagine those are totally off the table and handled. Why would you come? And so I don't give any energy to objections because what you focus on expands and where your attention goes, intention goes. And so if someone's really got objections, I don't won't spend time on them. I just go, okay, let's assume they're handled. And it completely neutralizes any objection that they do have. And when, in my experience, when you have someone and you can get them clearer on the vision of where they want to go and how this is going to help them do that, they will move themselves along that path and that conversation much faster than if we go back and forth like playing a little game of tennis handling objections. So, I mean, there's one in particular that is coming to mind, and I think the thing people don't take into consideration is you have no idea what someone else's vision is going to be or what their drive is going to be. So we have our community, which is Empire Builders Pro. And in 2020, when I started working with Rick, I saw there was no system, there was no duplication, and there was no skills. And so people were getting turned off by EXP because they were so excited about it, but they were out there doing all the things that were repelling. And so we put the system in place. We created the brand, we created the community, the training, the specific steps to duplicate, to be able to grow and scale, get people skilled up. And in that was a really an important piece, an important thing. But I say that only to say that the reason our organization is thousands of agents today is not because of me or Rick or us. It's because we've attracted people that are leaders of themselves, that have their own vision, that have come in and executed what their vision was. And when they raise their hand and say, I'd like help or support, we're there to do that. But we're not driving or controlling what it needs to be or should be. That's not the conversation at all. And so what that's created is a place for people to have their own vision within our vision. And some of them have had really, big visions, right? So I think about we came to EXP in January of 2017, and about a year later, a lady named Rosie Rodriguez, who Rick had known because she was owned a Keller Williams office in Southern California. She's a president of EXP Latino, and she came in and she was really well connected in the Southern California area, and she had a relationship with a guy named Leo Robles, who's all over social media, Let's Grow movement, and he was a former team leader for Keller Williams, and so he saw the vision. And I mean, his organization's over 1,500 agents today just through him, because of the people that he's attracted and the organization that he's built, and he's taken personal ownership for that and for that vision and the execution of that vision. And so there's multiple people, Joseph Trujillo within his, who is Dream Chasers. He's of Leo's 1,500 in his organization. Joseph's right around 700 of those agents. And, with his own vision of how he wants to grow and create. And so I think the thing that's worked really well is that we've created a framework and a structure from a leadership standpoint for people to be supported and plug in where they want to, but at the same time, understanding the principles around duplication and how important that is to be able to scale and grow an organization. And then everyone having their own vision that they attach to be leaders of themselves. So they're not looking to us to do it or looking to me to do it. They're looking to themselves, and they put a stake in the ground saying, here's why I'm here. Here's what I want to create. And then there's places where we come together and work together. And then there's places where we're executing our individual visions. I believe you can't teach desire. So there's no amount of systems and numbers that are going to build an organization. You can have the perfect systems. You can have people going through the numbers and not grow and build, because they don't. It's Napoleon Hill calls it in Think and Grow Rich, that white heat of desire. I would take somebody all day long that's got a burning desire and a passion for what they want to do and grow and build. And when you give somebody like that the systems, which is what happened, then what's able to be created is nothing short of inspiring. Because, and I know there's different schools of thought on that. Some people say, passion, there's nothing like passion on fire, and all you need is that and the desire. And I'm like, yeah, and that can create a disaster everywhere you go because of the fallout that happens when you've got someone. It's like having a pitcher in baseball with no catcher. It's pitch, 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 and there's nobody there catching the balls, right? And so the one without the other, you need both from my perspective, right? You're only going to get so far on passion and desire if you don't have the systems and scalability and duplication. And you're going to get nowhere with just systems, scalability, and duplication if you don't have the passion and desire to like go build and serve. So I think you need both. And yeah, you can make it so far on one. However, you're not going to create an organization of thousands of people. So this is the thing about goals. If I have a goal for, a 3,000 agent organization and I'm bringing somebody into the organization that wants to have 10,000 agents, they're not going to fit. They're not going to see a place for themselves because their vision exceeds, what mine is.
Yeah.
So in business and life, it's about helping people. There's a definition of enrollment and a definition of manipulation. And so the definition of manipulation, as I've been taught it, is manipulation is getting someone else to do what I want them to do for my reasons. So I'm going to recruit you to EXP because I want you to be in my organization because I want to grow and build something with you. And enrollment is getting someone else to do what I want them to do, which is join my organization for their reasons. I don't believe that we ever recruit anybody. I believe people enroll themselves based on an experience that we create with them. And it's a co-creation. So yeah, I have my vision of what I want our organization to be. And that's not necessarily relevant. What's more relevant is what's the vision that that person has.
Yes.
And by being part of our organization, are they going to be able to reach that vision and create that vision for themselves? And so it's this interesting thing because if you want to grow and build an organization within EXP and you've got, your personal reasons to do it and what's your freedom number and you're using your wealth chart and you're doing all these things and you're wanting to grow and build an organization, there's numbers of agents, there's productivity of those agents. Are they full cap, half cap, quarter caps? I mean, like, all these things that go into play on what an organization is going to look like. And at the end of the day, I think at this point, a lot of people will look at like, well, how many people do I need in my organization? And I will say 8 years into it, and particularly since Rick passed 2 years ago, where he was the kind of the face of everything and the high eye that was out there. And now it's like, okay, I'm doing what I was doing within our organization, which was more, I'm the closer. Like I get people over the line because I'm willing to have the tough conversations and I like having those conversations. So he would open, I would close, and now I'm opening and closing, which is actually opening. I don't think of it as closing because when somebody says, yes, this is what I want to do, that is the opening. We're starting a journey together. So Rick had a relationship. We had a relationship with somebody that was a friend, is a friend, and that Rick had, like anytime this person needed help, like Rick was always there, coach the person, ongoing, and just like as part of the relationship, never charged for it, anything. And so there was conversations about EXP and interest in it. And this person was part of a group of 3. And the other 2 people that were in this group were very well known, very influential. I mean, we had all vacationed together in San Diego years ago. EXP's on the table. They were all out of state. There was conversations, multiple conversations. Rick flew out of state to meet with them. And then it's like anything there's the principle called keeping the line tight. And when you have someone that you have in a conversation, I think of it like a helium balloon. And if you let go of the string, meaning you don't have a next date and time to speak or meet or talk and something that's supposed to happen before then, you just let go of the string of the helium balloon and it's off going wherever it's going. And so there wasn't next steps that were set per se, and some time passed, and as things circled back around, of the 3, the 2 had pull and had started being prospected elsewhere and decided to go elsewhere and signed up in a different organization. And they have an organization of, oh my gosh, over 1,000 agents today, maybe closer to 2,000. And actually just saw them at the EXP Top 250 Mastermind in Scottsdale and it was great to see them. But at that point when that happened, it was like, the air gets sucked out of you, the wind gets sucked out of you. It's like where I thought we were at was like not where we were at all. And so I remember at the time standing in the kitchen and having the conversation with Rick. And I said, for whatever reason, like when stuff like that happens, I just figure we dodged a bullet. That's the story that I write around it. For whatever reason, that was not meant for us uh, to be in partnership, in business, whatever. We're still friends. We like love these people. They're great people. And for whatever reason, at that space, at that time, it was not a match. And that like this belief that what is meant for me will always be for me, and what's not meant for me will not. And back to not making it about ourselves. And if you're going to build an organization here, it's really about serving other people, and other people get to decide what they want and what they feel is going to be best for them. And at this point, I just know like, hey, we're not a match for everybody. And I actually don't want to be in business with everybody, because when someone's going to choose to be in business with me now, it means that what am I going to feel like when I see a text come through for that person, or knowing that we're going to an event and I'm going to see that person? Am I going to be energized? Is it going to be somebody that I want to work with? Somebody that's like, oh my gosh, I only hear from them when there's problems, and there's a lot of problems. And so I will say this in prospecting now is like, listen, uh, I don't want to be in business with everybody, and it needs to be a mutual fit of if we're going to do business together, and more importantly, why? Because we're not just going to do business together, we're going to do life together. And I know that's not everyone's approach, because some people are going for numbers, and everybody's got a different approach with how they grow and build. But I think that, being at the point that I am in life, and Rick passing so quickly and unexpectedly with no indication that that's what was going to be happening, I realized that time and relationships are the two biggest commodities. And so where my time goes and who it goes into are really important for me. And I'm clear that it's not the masses. It's not everyone. It's people that there's alignment with. Number one thing, I would not make myself the issue. This is where I see that people have the most challenging time, when they make it about themselves. How long they've been with the company, how long they've been in the business, how much business they're doing or not doing, what their year is looking like year over year, and they make it about themselves. So number one, I would not make it about myself. And number two, then I would have an avatar of who are the people that I want to do business and life with, that are what I call eights, nines, and tens. So if you ask someone generally to rate themselves how successful they feel, 10 being like knocking it out of the park, one being not successful at all, most people are going to rate themselves somewhere around a 6 or a 7, maybe an 8. But usually people will say 6 or 7. And then what happens is people will go into attraction and recruiting, and they will want to attract or recruit people that they feel they have credibility with. And if they're a 6 or a 7, that means they're going to a 5, 4, 3, or a 2. Versus, oh, I'm a 6 or a 7. Who's the eights, nines, and tens in my marketplace? Who's the eights, nines, and tens that I can develop relationships with? Who's the eights, nines, and tens that are on the other side of the transaction? Who's the eights, nines, and tens that are affiliates in our industry that have connections to 8, 9s, and 10s, like my title rep or my loan officer, and get really clear on that avatar of what an 8, 9, or 10 looks like. And then being the person to be positioned in front of that, and not positioning myself. Again, I would not position myself. I would position the community. I would position the access based on that community. I would position the collaboration within that community. I would position the tools and resources of how to be able to grow in that community. And I would succinctly walk someone through opening doors of relationships that they have no idea what it can lead to or what it can mean for them in their business and in their life. And I would systematically make those connections, open doors, and introductions through third-party validation calls, which is the backbone of everything that we teach and everything that we do. I'm the door opener for the people that are my people, and my job is to get them in front of as many different voices and voices of experience and go, yeah, this is my community. This is who I work with. This is who I build with. This is who supports me and who I'm supporting. And this is what you would have access to as well. And when people meet great people, and have great experiences. Now they create their own FOMO because most real estate agents are working on an island and they have maybe one person or two people, but they're not really in collaboration generally. And it can be really lonely being a real estate agent. So I would demonstrate the value of the community, the resources in the community, and how our community grows together.
Wow. This has been an awesome 40 minutes for us. I'm hopeful you didn't take too many bullets directly. When you texted me back and you said, no, I don't want to know what you're asking, and I like I like caught off guard. I did my best. Hopefully you felt this as lively as we felt it. I want to thank you for your service. Thank you for your service to the company. The things you and formerly Rick did were amazing to make EXP just a better environment for everybody. In fact, I believe, because I know some of Rick's past work, what he did to make the industry a better place. And so we appreciate, oh, there you go Swanky. Anybody have a question they'd like to jump on and ask? We are going to keep the recording going. We often don't keep the questions for the recording. Sometimes we do. But does anybody have a question they'd like to ask Casey at the moment? See, we've got all these people raising their hand, Miss Casey. I'm gonna say this. As we close, you deal with organizations, you speak to organizations within EXP on a fairly regular basis. Some of the trainings that you've done, and Rick formerly has done, three-way calling, some of those things are phenomenal. You referenced it a minute ago, and I'm going to say it a different way. What we want an agent to do if they're going to go out there and recruit is not to take themselves so seriously. It's not about them. So launch us into the stratosphere as a closing remark with how you would talk. And I'm going to take this as a soundbite, just so you know, here's the pressure. I'm going to cut this piece and use it as a soundbite of why EXP is the place to bring agents today. And this soundbite will go out to the prospect from a position of your authority. Okay. And the only thing that our agents have to do is be the messenger. So take us through that. And with that, we'll say goodbye. Go ahead, Miss Casey.
All right. So here's what I would invite people to think about. And I often ask the question if they've read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And for people that have and understand that book, I tell them that wherever they're at, that is not EXP, they are on the left-hand side of the cash flow quadrant, and they will always be in a transactional time for money capacity conversation. And that day one, just by having their license at EXP, they've immediately placed themselves on the right-hand side of the cash flow quadrant because they're actually building something. They're building something that's going to have ownership and have leverage and create a future for them. And so if you're going to go out and do the same amount of work, brokerage regardless, wouldn't you want to build something for your future that gives you options and possibilities and leverage and legacy that it is impossible to create without? And for me, that just makes sense. And if we're going to spend the time, energy, and effort to do it, I believe that I'm valuable enough that I should have the maximum return on that time, energy, and effort. And the platform of EXP has made that available in ways that were never available before in our industry. And so much so that so many are coming along to attempt to copy it or replicate it, which are diluted, watered down versions that don't deliver the same thing that we do, but that are attempting to copy it because of how incredible it is when it works in the way that it's designed to be done, which I believe we're the gold standard in the industry. If there was somewhere better to be, I would be there. I would have my people there. That's the responsibility of leadership, to do the best that I know how to do. And if there's a place for me to do better, then I'm going to go do better somewhere else. The second thing is that so many people have a mistaken perspective that it's too late. There's 82,000 agents at EXP. They're getting ready to celebrate their 16-year anniversary. I need to go somewhere new where it's quote unquote ground floor startup, and I can be one of those big names because it's at the beginning. And that could not be further from the truth. So let me tell you why that is. In January of 2017, when Rick and I came to EXP, there was 2,400 agents. Fast forward to today, there's 82,000 agents 8 years later. We are projected to grow from where we're at, 82,000 agents, to 250,000 agents in the next 5 to 7 years. So if you think about where is the growth and where is the opportunity, was it from 2,400 agents to 82,000 agents in 8 years? Or is it from 82,000 agents to 250,000 agents in the next 5 to 7 years? The bigger window of growth is ahead of us. And all of the things like taking 3 to 4 weeks to onboard are gone. Like EXP has got us operationally dialed in. The foundation is in place. We've grown, we've scaled, we've survived that. We're still around. And I believe that we are the most powerfully positioned of any brokerage in the industry for agents that are serious about their future, serious about taking their business to the next levels, where the pros go to grow. Yes, it's a hashtag that we see all over social media, but it is true. That is what happens for agents when they join our company and our community. We grow, and then we create legacy and impact in ways that are not possible anywhere else. So I believe that the information that we have is, I have a responsibility to share it, but it's also a privilege. And I've seen it work, and the beneficiary of how well it works, particularly when it's mattered most, like when Rick passed a couple of years ago and everything that transpired after that.